And welcome back. Good morning, everyone. My name is Don K. Preston. I'm the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and this is what I call my morning musings. I'm sharing with you some thoughts in response to viewer requests to give a thumbnail sketch of what Covenant Eschatology is. Well, Covenant Eschatology is about the overcoming of the death of Adam. Adam was told, in the day you eat, you'll surely die. He died that day. In spite of all of the denials of traditional eschatology that says, well, he only began to die. Well, it's not what God said. In spite of the denials of traditional eschatology that says you'll become mortal that day. It's not what the text says. Again, I've said this before, but I'm absolutely astounded at the attempts to deny the plain, undeniable language of the text, in the day you eat, you will surely die. If God wanted to tell Adam and Eve, you will die the day you eat the fruit, how else could he have expressed it better than he did? But it's because of presuppositional ideas, concepts about the nature of the death of Adam, that have and do lead people, good people, to say, well, okay, they didn't really die that day. They died 900 years later. So we've got to alter the text. We've got to change the text. We've got to find some way out of the text. Okay, all of that aside. Covenant eschatology is about the overcoming of the death of Adam. Death, the death of Adam, alienation from God, reigned from Adam to Moses. God took, as it were, the death of Adam, put it under Moses in the law. Romans chapter 5, 14 to 21. The law became the ministration of death. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6 and following. Paul called Torah, the law written and graven in stones, the ministration of death. God also placed the overcoming of that death, the death of Adam, at the end of Torah, the end of the law of Moses. I don't know of a more powerful illustration of this than the story of the Transfiguration. Peter in 2 Peter chapter 1, 16 and following, as he wrote to confound and to refute and to respond to the scoffers who were saying, where's the promise of his coming? 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 3. Peter said, we have not followed cunningly devised fables when we made known to you the power and the parousia of our Lord Jesus Christ. We were with him on the mount. We were eyewitnesses of his glory, and we heard that great voice say, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Now please catch the power of this. Peter is responding to the scoffers. The scoffers denied the second coming. Peter, to refute the scoffers, said, no, we saw a vision of the parousia on the Transfiguration Mount. So, if you and I want to understand the proper definition of the parousia, the second coming, we need to go to the mountain. So the great question is, what did Peter and the rest of the apostles see on the Mountain of Transfiguration? Well, here they saw Christ transfigured, metamorphosized, radically altered in nature or in substance, in form. They no longer saw him, now remember, a vision of the parousia, they no longer saw him in this physical body of a 5'5" Jewish man. It was radically transformed, so radically. His face shined like the sun. His clothes were whiter than any fuller's soap. They were frightened out of their mind. Also appearing with Jesus was Moses and Elijah. What did Moses and Elijah represent? The law and the prophets, as virtually everyone agrees. Peter, in his enthusiasm, said, Lord, it's great to be here. Let's build 3 tabernacles. One for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. And about that time, as he was still speaking, Moses and Elijah faded away, and the voice from heaven said, this, speaking of Jesus, in this radically altered, radically changed form, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. Now the Greek of the text is very emphatic. It's in the emphatic mode. It is, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Him hear. What was it the disciples saw on the Mount of Transfiguration? Well, they saw a vision of the second coming of Christ. What was it they saw on the Mount? They saw a vision of the end of the law and the prophets. What did they not see? They did not see a vision of the end of human history. They did not see a vision of the destruction of planet Earth. They did not see the end of the new covenant of Christ. What Peter saw on the Mount was a vision of the second coming. What Peter saw on the Mount was the end of Moses, the law, and the prophets. What Peter saw on the mountain was covenant eschatology, not historical eschatology. Look, I've written on this subject extensively. It's one of my very, very favorite subjects, and you will find a lot of my thoughts in this book, Like Father, Like Son, on Clouds of Glory. You can get this book on eschatology.org or bibleprophecy.com. Mention that you saw the offer on either YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. You see, we have to understand, Peter said that they saw a vision of the parousia, the second coming of Christ, that being denied by the scoffers. But what Peter and the apostles saw as a vision of Christ's second coming was a vision of the end of the old law, the ministration of death, the time of the resurrection. But again, that was the end of the law, the old covenant law and the prophets. Hey, thanks so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic weekend. Lord willing, we'll see you on Monday.